What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts World. Oh yeah, we are staying in Poland tonight. Oh yes, we are going to be checking out the Polish pilots of the Battle of Britain. Sounds very historical and also sounds interesting. It's my cup of tea. Very much excited to check this one out. We ain't going to waste no more time. We're just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh yeah.
The RAF came, facing odds of 6, 8, 10 to 1, and dove in, shouting the old hunting cry, tally-ho!
They're known as the Few, the pilots who defended Britain against the German Luftwaffe during the Battle of Britain. Images of these brave airmen epitomise Britain's defiance in the summer of 1940. These pilots came from across the globe, from New Zealand, Canada, Ireland, the United States, and from the occupied nations of Eastern Europe, Czechoslovakia and Poland. They came together to defend the last staging point for a future liberation of Europe. The largest foreign contingent to fight in the Battle of Britain were the Polish. Over 5 devastating weeks, Poland had been crushed by invaders from Germany and the Soviet Union. Tens of thousands of Polish servicemen escaped to France to continue the fight. When Blitzkrieg swept through Western Europe, pilots of the Polish Air Force relished the chance to fight the Germans again. But despite their battle experience, the French were reluctant to let them fly.
In September 1939, Poland was rapidly overrun by the German Blitzkrieg. It was nothing really to do with Poland's fighting ability. In fact, their air force was very good, they were very well trained, and they took only the best people. The problem was they were using obsolete aircraft, and they didn't really stand much of a chance against the modern German fighters, such as the Bf-109 and Bf-110. Generally, the modern warfare style the Germans were using just overran the country very quickly, and they wouldn't be the last.
With the fall of France, thousands of Polish airmen arrived in Britain. Tired of defeat, they nicknamed it the Island of Last Hope.
Wow. The British reaction to the Poles at the time was reticent and cautious, I suppose. They'd seen how quickly Poland had been overrun and thought perhaps they weren't really up to the task. And the French had also thought this as well when many of them had fled to France to continue the fight. But they'd soon found out how good the Poles actually were. And eventually the British would find out too that they actually had very experienced, very skilled pilots.
Polish pilots were soon flying with various RAF units. However, as well as negative preconceptions, the Polish had other challenges to overcome to fly with Fighter Command.
They did have problems. Obviously the language barrier was obviously the main one, but it wasn't just things like this. It was getting used to modern fighters with retractable undercarriages that went up and down. The ones they'd had were obsolete fighters. On top of that, they had the metric system. They had to get used to reading in miles an hour rather than kilometres an hour, and also getting used to things such as you push forward to accelerate a British fighter, where you pull back on the stick with the Polish aircraft. So it's things like that they had to get used to.
But they persevered. Equipped with the Hurricanes and Spitfires of the RAF, the Polish had the chance to fight the Germans on equal terms. And despite the challenges they faced, their skill in the air was unquestionable.
Of all the Polish airmen that came to Britain, there was a realisation they might be worth putting them into their own squadrons, in this case 302 and 303. Now, they are formed relatively late into the battle, into August, but from the very start they're incredibly successful. And in the case of 303 Squadron, they are the most successful Allied squadron during the Battle of Britain. With the Poles, the way they fight, they get very close to the enemy before they open fire, which is a dangerous thing to do, but it does ensure a kill more often than not. They're driven by something very different from the British, in the sense that Britain is not occupied. It may have been attacked, but it's not the same as having your country occupied by an enemy force. So they're very, very keen, as with the Czechs, to bring the battle to the Germans.
In August, German attacks intensified. On the 24th, Sergeant Antony Giovatsky claimed 5 German bombers during 3 sorties, becoming one of only 3 pilots to achieve the status of ace in a day. The 2 Polish squadrons, 302 and 303, entered service the same month. 302 Squadron excelled in its defence of London in September, accounting for 9 aircraft on the 18th of September alone. By the end of the battle, its score had reached 18, plus a further 12 probable kills. The contribution of 303 Squadron has become legend.
One particular group captain decided to test one of the squadrons just to see what their claims were. He came back from one sortie quite shaken, saying, oh yes, they do in fact get what they say they get. 303 Squadron has the highest kill count of any squadron during the battle. Their kill ratio is something in the region of 14-1.
Wow. Guys, I'm just taking it in there because, man, Polish, they have been through so many wars, so many battles. They are really a resilient nation, and I did not know that there were so many battles, like taking place in Poland, and the Polish community was under such attack in the past. I mean, you only hear, think of certain countries when, especially growing up, when you have limited amount of news, not just news channel, but just channels. Man, it's just what was the world going through in those times, for having all those atrocities. I could imagine growing up in those times, everything looked kind of bleak, almost that must have been a worrisome time. And we think we have it bad now in our time. Nah. Sometimes not sometimes, you have to know the past to be appreciative of what you have now, the future. History is important. Definitely history is important in everything, so that we can try to avoid it from repeating again. Interesting, very interesting. I'm gonna take it back a bit.
303 Squadron has the highest kill count of any squadron during the battle. Their kill ratio is something in the region of 14-1. Their ace pilot is Josef Franciszek, who ironically is not a Pole. He's a Czech, but he prefers to fly with the Poles, and he becomes the highest scoring pilot of the Battle of Britain with 17 confirmed kills.
Ooh.
In total, during the Battle of Britain, 146 Polish pilots served with the RAF across numerous units and the two Polish squadrons. They accounted for more than 200 kills.
Ooh.
But such a feat came at a cost. 29 Polish pilots lost their lives during the Battle of Britain, including Josef Franciszek, who was killed in an accident that has never been explained in October 1940. Commander-in-Chief of Fighter Command Hugh Dowding, who had questioned the skill of the Polish pilots at the start of the battle, summarised their contribution in these words: "Had it not been for the magnificent work of the Polish squadrons and their unsurpassed gallantry, I hesitate to say the outcome of the battle would have been the same." The Polish pilots became instant celebrities.
The American media saw them as the sort of glamour boys of the Battle of Britain. Yeah, they were very well received here, them and the Czechs. Their contribution was well marked, and their aggressiveness in taking the fight to the Luftwaffe was recognised by all, I think.
The Polish Air Force continued to serve with the RAF until the end of the war. The Polish War Memorial at RAF Northolt lists the names of more than 1,900 personnel who lost their lives. After the war, some airmen chose to remain in Britain, and they continued to work for the RAF, mostly as flight instructors. Others returned to Poland, by then under Soviet occupation. Under the communist regime, Polish pilots who had fought in the West were barred from flying in the Polish Air Force, and many were imprisoned on trumped-up charges of espionage.
Whoa.
The Polish pilots of the Battle of Britain would have to wait until 1953 and the death of Stalin before some of them were able to take to the skies again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the button to subscribe.
Wow. Guys, so many thoughts in my head watching this. Guys, I don't even know what to say. It just... I'm lost for words. Yeah, I'm just wondering, when you hear of those wars, the list is so long with all those atrocities. I did a reaction to the history of Canada, and I saw so many wars taking place in Canada, a place I never thought was so heavily, you know, in terms of war. And I'm just saying, like, what was the world going? What was the world like before? It seems like everywhere across the world had wars going on for territory and all those other things. Like, man, I don't know. It just makes you really appreciate what we have now, where it's nowhere near what it was like in the past, and I'm really grateful for that in the time we're living in there. The Poles are very, very resilient nation, and it just compounds to the national anthem that they have and the Rota song. It just really compounds, and I can see how much it really means to them, you know, when hearing the national anthem, and especially the Rota song as well, because the feedback that I'm getting from this reaction, the Rota reaction, man, it's unbelievable. It's not just about the views, but the comments. People are in tears while listening to the song, and it just made me realize, like, wow, this is just not an anthem that just shows respect to their country, but there is such a heavy attachment in terms of the history of the country, and you don't find that with many national anthems. That's the first national anthem where I'm seeing people are so emotional when they're listening to it, or when it's being played out. And that's what got me interested in finding more information about the Poles and making a channel, because it started from the Polish Rota song, and I was very interested in as to the Polish community, what, you know, like, because I've heard Poland, and I've always viewed Poland as a country of like a country that's different from a lot of the world, and a country that also brings I'll say, like, authenticity, and also a country that's like just basically different from many other countries. But I was not expecting it to be a country that had so much history in terms of war aspect, and I'm just finding out those things, and I'm will be digging deeper into those things. And this Battle of Britain, you gotta hit me with some more information in the comments as to like the origin of how it all started. I mean, you can't get everything in just I can't get everything in a 6-minute video because there's so much information to be given. But if you guys could hit me up with some more information, maybe like 2 paragraphs or whatnot from Wikipedia, like the center points of the war, you know, like things that I should really know that wasn't in the video, I would appreciate that as well. Yes, if you want to see that long drawn out outro that I do, you gotta check it out on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions all day. Well, I'm about to say all day, every day, but I mean, like, I do it as much as possible. Got a lot of good content over there. Check it out. Got a lot of hits and classic songs. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So this way I'm gonna be making my exit. So peace out.